Hey guys, I know it's been a while, and I guess you might want to expect a bunch of updates, but I just plain forgot, and life goes on. Anyway, I thought I would give you a couple updates. One of the biggest ones is I'm starting my costume for Comic-Con. This is as far as I've gotten so far, well, besides a bolt of fabric. But it needs to be fiberglass, epoxied, and bondoed and sanded and painted. But that is the mask for the 1990s Turtles Shredder. I'm going to be working on it on and off as much as I can. Hopefully I get a really good one for Comic-Con. Pretty interesting learning how to be a GM, not just for, a game but when you're the GM in a game that everyone is trying to get a grasp on. There have been quirks here and there, and we've been finding out things like the first time we entered into combat, you're supposed to add in success dices when you actually have a success, and those add to your damage. The first half of that battle, nobody was adding those dice because we didn't know until halfway through the battle, and I started reading, going, if they're landing successful hits, how come nothing is getting through? Or the reason why, well, if they land a successful hit, how could they possibly roll 0 damage? Past that, there have been other things, like nice little lessons on how to be a good GM, like don't place a maniacal character outside of the group at the beginning and expect them to get along. Also, don't expect them to immediately take the easiest way out. I had so much fun just laughing at like a completely easy situation that they completely over-convoluted in my mind, but still had a very good, way out that they created. And you know what? It was more creative than what I was expecting out of anyone for that situation. And I'm kind of happy because it's more exciting than what I was thinking. But I guess as a overview of what I've done with this game is, yes, the party had started off captured in an airship, and I'll go ahead and explain. One of the characters is an ex-member of basically what I'm going to call, like, he's an ex-SEAL or something like that. He's a super secret wing of the military in this post-apocalyptic world that everyone fears. And he's an ex-member now. He quit, and now he's got this wing of the military after him constantly. Well, originally he hadn't quit yet, so I kind of wrote in a scenario that I thought would help him quit and make him into ex-Chunogun. Chunogun is that wing of the military, and that way he didn't have to come up with a backstory. He really didn't want to come up with a backstory, and that backfired gloriously. So we had to roll a mulligan on how we were doing this because everyone was in prison cells on an airship, except for him. He was a guard. He was the prison guard, and being a prison guard was like the lowliest task you could give someone in this, and he wasn't even on a Chunogun ship. He was being transported to the next place where he could be picked up, so I was giving him plenty of motivation to the facts, but he is a maniacal character, and that backfired horrendously. So we rolled a mulligan, and we made it where he was actually in the cells too, and he had a past story that made him defect, so that he'd been caught and he was being transferred over to the towers to be processed also. From there, Nancy's character is basically an expert thief and picked her way out of the locks, and the ex-Chunogun Sean knocked out the prison guard by using his notoriety, so that the prison guard knew who he was and came in, and he just pulled her into the bars and knocked her out, and then Nancy unlocked everyone. They got all their stuff back to storage. They went up a ladder to the next deck, and there was, just a map room, like a little interchange room, and then there were barracks full of men to one side, and then there was just this open deck with I think 3 or 4 guards guarding this small Long John airship escape vessel thing. And I was intending it to be easy in, easy out combat, but that didn't happen. It actually happened that they figured out a way that they were going to strip the clothes off of the guard, and Nancy was going to change clothes with that guard because it was a female guard, and they were going to X a prison transfer over to a Chino Gun black ship that they were en route to transfer Sean onto. And when they were about to get that done and actually do something, Alex showed up, and it became hilariously complicated because he then started analyzing other details, like, oh, I can make a bomb, and decided to start stealing stuff from this person and that person and making like a pressure vessel bomb that he was going to roll out there and explode and cause mayhem. And they had to talk him down from that because there was about 40 people apparently, in the other room that would have probably heard that. But it was really funny just to see how long we wasted on just getting on that ship. And when they finally did get off the ship through the prison transfer debacle, they disabled one of the engines on the big ship with a long length of iron chain, putting it through the intakes so that they couldn't be followed. And then they made their way to the first sky island that they could find, which was Isla Aether, and they had basically a long john with a cannon, which was with a couple cannons, which was over armed in the first place when I actually read into how many cannons that particular ship could carry. And they decided to look into this, that, and the other, and they found a ship that was supposedly going to be unguarded at night, and they stole a Tiger class ship, which can carry a lot of stuff. So they stole the Tiger class ship. One of the characters or their crewmen that they were locked up with also flew the little Long John boat ship over to the Tiger class ship, towed it in hull, and ran to just sailed off to High Tortuga, the next place. When they got to High Tortuga, they sold off the Long John and started doing upgrades and repairs to the ship and such, when they were confronted by a mysterious woman who, I have to explain, Shep's character is a womanizer, an utmost womanizer. He has to roll saves not to hit on women, and this is kind of funny with, Nancy being a female character on this campaign. So he immediately hits on this woman, and I find out later on I rolled too little opposition dice against him, but it was fun, just egging him along and not giving him anything, but giving him satisfaction. But she eventually shows the party to a benefactor who happens to be the mayor of High Tortuga, who is this eccentric pirate enthusiast who has like a bunch of like little miniature, think micro machine sized airships over this like battlefield map, and they're just sitting there like flying around and shooting little pins at each other and stuff like that. And he's having a amazingly good time just sitting there, you know, playing with his toys basically. And then the party comes in, and basically the way they got the party to show up here was this woman said the benefactor knew how they got their ship and wouldn't mind using that against them if they didn't do their job. And the job basically was retrieving lost technology, because this is somewhere 150 years in the future, yet post-apocalyptic enough that they're back in Victorian age technology, so it's lost technology of some form. And they have this map that shows them basically where it was at, and you know, tells them, you know, it was being transported on a boat and stuff like that. But and they head out to the prison. Oh, not prison. They head out to this location, and it's an old ruined city by a river. And long story short, they loot what's left of the collapsed buildings, and then, you know, and find better guns. And they make it across the river. One of them decides to swim across the river, which was a horrible idea, because when they got to the boat, the one who swam across the river attracted alligators to them. And when they got their equipment and they were they had sent some of their crew back and some not, they had to fight the alligators, which was the fight I was talking about, where halfway through the fight I'm sitting there going, why aren't they landing hits? This doesn't seem right. And then after they started landing hits, all glory behold, they're able to do stuff. So they end up winning that fight pretty easily. It was a struggle at first because there was no damage being thrown, but after they could do damage, they were winning. And then after that, they loaded up everything, and it was a big, large coffin. Big metallic coffin with a viewing hole of like smoked glass that you couldn't see through. And a wristband thing that had a button and a dial on it. And Shep, being the inventor, had to play around with this stuff to try and figure out what was going on. What, you know. And while they're on the airship, he hits a bunch of stuff, and he figures out a few things, like you know, switching through different menus, and the capsule actually opens, or coffin, whatever, and up sits this big automaton that seems different sophistication level than what Evan's character is. And it just sits up there, it doesn't do anything, and then he eventually hits the activate button. And it sends a spike into his hand, and he starts, you know, screaming, you know, but it doesn't actually attach because he detaches it. And they find, when the crew comes down to find out what's going on, they find an instruction manual, and that's where we left off, was Shep was going to start reading the instruction manual, and they were going to be returning return the equipment over to get this insanely gracious reward. Another thing I guess I forgot to mention was they did spot an airship tailing them, but they were told that there are secondary measures to make sure that they were doing the job that they were supposed to. Anyway, that's really the entire thing for this week, month, whatever, however long I will be till the next update.